Welcome to day 2 of our mini constructions unit. Your homework will be page 10 and 11. It'll be similar constructions to what we do in class. So first off, your homework one's from yesterday. We wanted to construct an isosceles triangle with the base and the leg given there. So start out with that horizontalish segment. Mark off the length of the base with your compass. And then from that left end point and where you marked, set your compass to the length of the legs and just swoop up for each of them where they intersect. That's where you connect them. And that now guarantees those two legs are congruent, making it isosceles. For the square, start off with that bottom horizontal segment, put a point on it, and construct the perpendicular bisector going through that. Mark off a certain distance from that spot on that horizontal. Mark the same distance going up on the perpendicular. And then keeping your compass the same, mark that fourth upright point by going from the bottom right point and the top left point the same distance as the other sides of your square. Equilateral triangle, start with a segment, mark off a certain amount, and then keeping your compass the same, swoop up that same amount from each of the endpoints of the segment you marked off. And an isosceles right triangle, start with a segment, put a point, construct a perpendicular line at that point, mark off a certain amount on your horizontal segment there, and then mark the same amount going up on your vertical perpendicular segment, then connect them, and that will make an isosceles right triangle. All right, for today, we're going to start out with a 30, 60, 90 triangle. We're going to do 6 constructions all together. So you'll need your compass and straight edge out. And to start out, we're just going to do our equilateral triangle construction from yesterday. So with your straight edge, draw yourself a segment. So with your compass, we're going to mark off a certain length on our segment. There's nothing telling us exactly how long that needs to be, so we get to pick. So put your point on one end, open it up a little ways, make a mark. So we're going to make that be the side of our equilateral triangle. So now go up, mark that same distance up here. Move your point over to where we marked off, keeping your compass the exact same length. We're going to mark that off up there. So now with your straight edge, connect from your endpoint up to our intersection, and from this up to our intersection, and that creates an equilateral triangle. So because it's equilateral, we now know that each of the angles is 60 degrees. Well, we want a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to bisect one of the angles. So I'm going to choose to maybe bisect that top angle there. So I'm going to put my point on the vertex, and then you make any convenient arc so that you get 2 intersections. From there, put your point on one of the intersections and make any arc out towards the middle. Put your point on the other intersection and make that same arc to get an intersection. Where they cross, that's where you want to connect from the vertex. So go from the vertex straight down. And this has just created a 30, 60, 90 triangle, because from our equilateral, we knew this was 60. Because we bisected the angle, these are each 30. Well, now that means there's only 90 left for that angle, so we just created a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Moving to the bottom of page 7, we're going to create a rhombus using that side length and with the given angle. So first thing we have to do is we have to copy the angle. So we're going to go over to the angle that they gave us. And we'll start by making any arc that we want. We'll make that same arc over at A. Next up, we'll set our compass to the width of our intersections. Once you have that, put your point on our intersection here. Make a little arc. And then we'll extend with our straight edge through that intersection point, and make sure to extend it a ways. So now a rhombus has 4 congruent sides. So we're going to set our compass to the length of AB. So we'll put our point on A and put our pencil over on B. So point on A, pencil on B. And what we're going to do is we're going to mark that length off on the other segment. And that now gives us another vertice in our rhombus. So we have 3 of the 4 vertices right now. We have to find our 4th one, which should be somewhere up close to A. So what we're going to do is keep our compass the same, put our point on B, and make an arc up this way. Then we'll put our point up on this top left one, make the same arc, and wherever they cross, that's our 4th vertice in the rhombus. We can now take our straight edge and we'll connect from B all the way up to that intersection up there and connect these two. And that makes our rhombus. So rhombus, we've got all the parallelogram properties like opposite sides congruent, opposite sides parallel, opposite angles congruent, consecutive angles supplementary, diagonals bisect each other if we had them. And then we get new features like all 4 sides congruent. You get, if there's diagonals, they're bisecting the angles, and those diagonals are perpendicular as well. But we use the fact that all 4 sides are congruent to make our construction here. All right, next one, we're going to make a rectangle with that width and that length. So we'll start out, and with our straight edge, just make a long segment. And we're going to pick a point on that segment where one of our vertices of the rectangle will be. Basically, this will be like our lower left vertex of the rectangle. And we know rectangles have right angles, so we are going to have to do something we saw in yesterday's class and construct a perpendicular line right here. So open your compass up, make a mark on one side, make a mark from there on the other side. And then put your compass on one of the intersections, and you'll have to open your compass some more because we've got to be over halfway. And we'll swoop it up and swoop it down. And then we're going to reverse it. We'll put our point over on the other intersection, keeping the width of our compass exactly the same, swoop it up and swoop it down. And then if we connect our intersections, it should automatically go through that point and extend it a ways up as well. So along our line segment, we're going to mark off how long our length is. And it looks like I'm not quite going to be able to do it. So your compass, you should be able to open up. I'm just going to adjust mine slightly so you can get the idea. So now that I've got my compass open to that amount, I put my point here and make an arc. So that's going to give us a second vertice within our rectangle. Now I'm going to go up to my width, and I'll put my point on one end point, pencil on the other end, and this is what we're going to mark off on that vertical perpendicular line. So I'll put my point here, and we'll mark off on here. That's a third vertex in the rectangle. And then keep your compass the same, the width open to the width amount. And from this bottom right one, we're going to make an arc with that width. And then we've got to go back to the length. We'll put our point on one end and open it back up to the end of our length. And we'll mark off that amount here. Oops, I think I might have moved mine slightly. So we can finish off just with some straight edge, connecting those points. And that makes our rectangle that matches the width and the length that we wanted. Again, yours on your paper, it's going to look a little bit longer because remember I adjusted my length because the Smartboard compass didn't open up as far as that length was. All right, moving down to the bottom here, I think this one's a fun one. So we want to construct a hexagon that's inscribed in this circle. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick a point to start somewhere on your circle. So that's going to be my starting point. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our point on that starting point and put your pencil on the center of the circle. And make sure it will pass through the center. So then keeping your point on the circle, we're going to mark off that same distance from the center on the circle. And keep your compass the same. Put your point on that intersection and mark it off again on the circle. Then put your point on the next intersection and mark that off on the circle. Put your point on the next intersection. Make an arc and mark that off on the circle. Notice we're keeping the compass opened at the same amount every time. And then do it one last time. So now we have 6 spots marked on the circle. And all we do is with our straight edge, connect each of those to the ones next to it. So that becomes one side in our hexagon. There's our second and third side. Now mind the Smartboard wants to snap and make that vertical when it's not quite. So I'm just going to connect that by hand slightly. So keep going around with your straight edge and connect each of those intersections. And that makes our hexagon that is inscribed in the circle. So one more page for today over on page 9. So we're going to do an equilateral triangle inscribed in this circle. It is very similar to what we just did with the hexagon. So we're going to pick a point to start with. I'm just going to pick that one there. And we're going to start out doing the exact same thing. Really, the end is really all that will be different for an equilateral triangle as opposed to a hexagon. So put your point on the circle. Open up. So that it'll go through the center. We'll make an arc to hit the circle. And then we'll just keep repeating that all the way around. Oops, I might have switched my arc, so I got to remeasure. So keep going around. You should have 6 total. After you have your arcs, don't mark anything after that. All right, so the difference with the equilateral triangle is that we only want 3 sides instead of 6. So we're going to connect every other one. So we'll connect that one, and that one. So we'll go there to there, connect there to there, and connect there to there. And that is your equilateral triangle that is inscribed in the circle. All right, in our last one, we're going to construct a square that's inscribed in the circle. First thing with our straight edges, we want to draw a diameter. Remember, the diameter has to pass through the center. So construct any diameter that you want. In a square, the diagonals should be perpendicular to one another. So they also bisect each other, so we're going to do the perpendicular bisector of that diameter. We are going to put our point on one side. Make sure it's the point that's on the circle. Like mine, I extended a little bit. Make sure you are over halfway. We're going to swoop it up and swoop it down. And then we'll reverse it. We'll put our point on the other end of the diameter. We'll swoop it up and swoop it down. So you're going to connect those intersections and then extend them all the way through to the circle. So you can probably just extend yours all at once. On the smartboard, I've got to do them and then extend them after. So this kind of looks like a railroad crossing sign or something like that. To finish this off, we just connect the 4 spots on the circle where those diameters hit the circle. And by connecting those, that's going to turn it into a square. So we use the properties of the square to do this construction, that the diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other. So this is the last day of new material for the whole year. We've got a homework assignment tonight. Make sure to turn that in on Schoology before class tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll start looking at some SAT questions that use the topics that we use or that we learn throughout this year. Have a great rest of your day.